Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Virgin in the Podcast. I am here with um, my brother in Christ, my brother in frat, all of it. He is a musician, a singer, songwriter, a mentor. He's that guy all around. Mr. AP himself. You can take it away.
Like you said, music, mentor for people. I'm also involved in the media. Just a lot of different things, man. My goal is to be a media mogul, and be able to use what I do, just be my authentic self and be true, and tell people it's all right to be different from everybody else. And I
Mhm.
mean different. Like when I say different, be your authentic self. Don't try to be like anybody. You can pull from people, but make that make sense to you. When you paint a picture, your picture should not look like the next. So.
Yeah. I love that. For so long, so many of us, we show up as copycats because we're trying to find ourselves. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like in just today's world, it's so easy to become a copycat, but it's so important for all of us, especially in our art and just showing up in the world in general, like that we find who we are, right?
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts. I agree with you, man. I feel like sometimes, I alluded to it earlier before we started recording that, you got to sometimes be able to sit by yourself,
Hmm.
and be able to like really sit down, look at what you got going on, look at how you're trying to do. A lot of times we'll lose ourselves or you lose our uniqueness in what we're trying to do because we're doing too much. And it's like you got to narrow yourself down. Like, before we get into the question, I say this is a personal thing and I'm going through right now at the moment. It's like trying to get to the next phase of my career, understanding because I know I have so many different gifts and talents and I'm not mediocre in it. I ain't the top at it, but I ain't the worst at it either. So like understanding where to go and how to start that, sometimes you have to be able to really just say, okay, let's take this, let's take A. A is your main thing. Now once you kind of start to make that thing grow, then you can start
Right.
taking your time with stuff. Understanding life is about steps. It's not about leaps, but it's about steps.
Right. See, I love that point, and I think about David anytime I hear taking steps like that, because David was ordained as a king, but before he was a king, he had to be the shepherd boy, and then he had to play the harp, and then he had to be a soldier.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he had to beat Goliath before he even became a soldier, but before he beat Goliath, he had to beat the bears and the lions. You feel me? Like he was ordained as a king, but he couldn't just become the king. He had to go through those steps. So I definitely feel you in that. Like I I'm trying to figure that out for myself too. Like what are my steps? Where is that next step? But that's what burgeoning is all about, right? It's about that growth. We don't just start full grown. We have to flourish in some type of way. So that is a perfect segue into our conversation. And I just want to ask you, like, what would you identify as your moment of burgeoning?
Um, Honestly, when I graduated with my master's, I was at my parents' house. I was playing for this church back then. And the pastor has become like a mentor for me. He started prophesying to me. He told me that you're gonna get 3 job interviews at the same time. You're gonna have the opportunity to choose. And like in that prophecy, he also was telling me about like stuff that I've gone through personally in terms of like my mentality in terms of how I looked at certain things. And it was crazy because I never had a conversation about this to him or anybody. It just was all my own inner thoughts and stuff. So when he started talking, I was like, "Dang, bro! Like, dog, you a stalker, bro? Like, you in my house when I'm like even like talking about the aspect of me riding around. Like, I literally would do this, and I still kind of do this to this day. Ride around in my car when I'm going places, especially because I travel so much. I use that as my time to talk to God when I'm really trying to figure something out. Yeah, you use your car as a sanctuary. It's your car. It's your place of worship. You sit down, you talk, you pray, cry, like legit. And I'm saying he telling me all this stuff. I'm like, what dog, bro? Like, dang, this brother, you a stalker? Like that really was going through my head at the moment. So in that time frame and in that phase of life, it's like almost 3 years ago when this happened. Um, he prophesied this, he told me this, and it happened. When it happened, I was like, yo, hey, bro, like I got them 3 job opportunities. I'm looking to pick it. He told me something that my parents thought was crazy. He told me, and I went with him because I at one point in my life I never really I'm not gonna say I didn't understand prophecies, but I never like really like looked at it because it never occurred really to me. I just saw everybody
Hmm.
else prophesy too, and from that day forward, like it was certain things when I played at this church, like the day before I say, God, hey man, I just really want him to preach. I don't even really want to preach. I just want to be able to just give a swift within the church and everybody get touched. And he just telling us what's gonna happen, what's gonna break down. And I mean, it was legit Sundays. Like the night before, I would pray to God for this to happen, and the next day it would not. It would go exactly like that. Way like he
Man.
wouldn't even preach. We'd get so slain in the spirit. Everybody in the church is like, it's a awe of how God is working. So like moments like that started to really show me like, okay, God with you. I know He always been with me, but like it was really like showing me how strong that my tongue is and my power with God, how strong our connection is. Because one thing I tell people is that it's a scary thing when your connection to God is like tethered and it's cut off, and you don't even know it's cut off. And like I know for me, like that was a very big moment because going from his prophecy to me praying and then seeing where I'm at now, he told me one of the prophecies he told me was like, "Look, man, you gonna get a job, and this is gonna be sound crazy. Don't worry about the money the job is gonna pay because it's gonna open up some doors and connections for you that's gonna help further you." And like I promise you, within that 3 years, don't get me wrong, I'm human, so I still had the moments of like, man, I need this check. But then again, that money will come around. What need to get paid for. Lights ain't off. Still balancing like how much I get made. Like I ain't gonna tell you how much I make a year, but I make a pretty decent amount between my job and the church I play for. But
I don't
look,
need to know
but
all that.
I'm just saying I ain't gonna put it out there, but I'm just using it like an example to show like when you walking with people and people start to really talk to you about the light because sometimes it's almost like how it was with David. David was overlooked. He was overlooked. His brothers
Left
and them,
out.
his brothers and them were so jealous when they came looking for them soldiers. Just looking for a soldier. Your brothers were like, "Hey man, I ain't. These are all the people we got for you." But they back there in the field. They like, "What about that one back there in the field?" They
His
wasn't
daddy
trying to
was
put
hiding him. Was hiding
exactly. They
him.
weren't
Yes.
trying to put them in front. So like
Yes.
I've dealt with that my whole life, not from the sense of just not being looked over, but from the aspect of like I always have my own mind. I mean, and I always, I speak a lot of. Sometimes I say what I want to say, it didn't always come out the right way.
Yes. Okay, but that's everybody. That's real. That's human.
But like, that's really what that moment in my life 3 years ago at his church kind of changed the course of a lot of stuff and how I move. It really allowed me to be able to really say, "Hey, I know God with me."
Right.
Even in that time span, like a lot of the music, my sound, how I have it now, was really able to develop. I'm thankful for COVID. COVID allowed me to be able to sit down with myself and sit back and give me the opportunity to really just go forward and do what I want to do without
Hmm.
having to worry about anything else within the world.
Yeah. So so in that time that you had to sit with yourself, like what was that process like to just not know, but just leaning on faith, leaning on the promises that you have been seeing, but then also just, Lord, I don't know what's going on. Like, what was that like?
It was up and down. It was up and down. I say it's up and down because sometimes when you graduate or when you go through promising moments in your life, you know, we all have a plan written out for ourselves and what we wanted to be, how we wanted to be viewed, or how we feel like it should go. And then like when God be done throw that dart at you, be like, nah, bruh, I let you go this far, but that ain't really what I want you to do. You
Mm-hmm.
can kind of sit back and be like, well, dog, like
Mm.
why I did this? Because like a point I didn't allude to either was like even with that prophecy, right? When he told me that a lot of stuff that I went through as a child. I started to really understand why. Like
Mhm.
I was never a kid that like I was well known. I played football. I did music. I was well known, but I was one of those people. Like I say, was a floater. I can float amongst everybody. I can be a jock if I want to be a jock. I can be a nerd if I want to be a nerd. Like I can be able. I was basically like a liaison. Like I can mess around and talk with everybody and fit in
Mhm.
with everybody because that's just how I was raised. I was raised like you don't have to be one type of way. You don't have to be one dimensional. Like I had
Mhm.
friends that's in the street. I had friends that's not in the street. Like
Mhm.
I was able to bounce and still be me without having to be nothing that I wasn't. So like that is that's the gist of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. So, did your sense of self change? Like, did was it transformational in that way that your sense of self changed and it grew, or do you think because you had always been a person to navigate through different doors, like it just kind of amplified?
Nah, definitely changed because I it definitely changed because definitely even though I was always like that, that doesn't mean that the way I went about stuff was always the correct way. There's been
Mm-hmm.
times where I've handled like mishandled some situations just because of how I was raised. Like my people, like we were real straightforward, cut direct, but that ain't for everybody. And like so that's where that spirit of discernment had to come in
Mm-hmm.
and understanding how to speak, how to move a certain way. Like it's different. So like the growth was there. Even at the time, the girl I was talking to, man, she told me one thing. She's like, "Pip, you can't always control every situation." And I never really realized like at the moment, like I ain't gonna say I like control, but I just like stuff to move. If it ain't logical, I ain't trying to do it. So, but that opened me up to be able to do some things, just let some stuff like kind of just go with the flow and enjoy it as it happens,
Mm-hmm.
and not having to be just so logical with everything.
Right. Yeah.
Because everything, I mean, that's a part of life. But so I would say, like, yeah, because I was that way, it helped me, but I had to still grow. Like
Mm-hmm.
even right now, I'm still having to grow. Like it's if you don't have any growth, you become stagnant. If you become stagnant, you really just go in the same place. And no matter
Exactly.
what speed or how you just go in the same way. And life is about mobile growth going up. And if I can't go up, then I'm stuck.
Yes. If I can't go up, then I'm stuck. I love that. I love that so much. It's so real. And I think we was talking about that in the group chat. The group chat
Yeah.
about control and releasing our control because it ain't about us. It is not
And
about us. It's about God and about allowing our lives to represent His will, right?
hmm
So,
And it's crazy you say that. It's like it's not about us. And I think a lot of times we can get lost within us, thinking it's about us, and it's like, bro, it's bigger than you. The gift is bigger than you. Like as quick as God can give you something, He can take it as well.
okay.
And like that just real talk. Like He can take it just as fast as He give it. That's why I know for me, I don't know what your morning routine is, but I know for me, like my daily prayer is always at the beginning of the day, Lord, allow me to come in contact with somebody that can help me and vice versa, and
Mm-hmm.
somebody that might can give me correction where correction is needed.
Mm-hmm.
Because we could be living, going through, not knowing that we need to be corrected in areas because nobody has said it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like going back to like with the girl I was talking to at one point. She told me, "Hey, yo, you can't control every situation." I never thought anything about it, but some stuff takes people to say stuff, and then how you go about it also shows your level of maturity too.
Okay. Okay. To be able to receive the criticism, that shows the growth because it was one point you couldn't tell me that everything I did wasn't great, but everything I did wasn't great, and I had to learn that. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I feel that. Um, Going back to morning routines, I think it is really important that we all have one, and that we
Mhm.
start with quiet time with God. Sometimes people aren't able to get that worked in their lives. What did you do to become able to, establish that importance that quiet time with God needs to come first?
Um, man, honestly, that goes back to my childhood, but evolving it more as an adult. When my father used to take us to school every morning, he had to say this saying that I'll be more than I could be. I will go to college. I will do this, that, and the third. So like that became a ingrained thing as a kid. But like, I'll be honest, in college I ain't do all that. I ain't do all that in college. I mean, I still prayed, but I didn't like make a routine in the
Uh
morning
huh.
to
Uh-huh.
pray. This past year, man, at the end of 2022, man, I lost a friend. Grew up together. He was hit by a drunk driver. Died, and in the midst of that too, it took me through this little situation. Like low key, I went through it. I kind of went through a little depressed stage. I was still going through, but unlike most, what I did when I started realizing stuff was like abnormal for me to do. Like I was having anxiety attacks, and I didn't even know what it was.
Mm.
I literally started talking to like my LBs. I even spoke with a therapist. I didn't do a session, but I just spoke to him on the phone. And and what happened was for me was that I realized that I needed to really like get even closer with God. Like the thing is, Pastor said it last week. It's like ain't nothing wrong with therapy, but you got to be praying too. And in the process of that, I'm trying to get trying to get a new job and things of that nature. And all these no's and stuff is like was really affecting me. So I talked to one of my mentors, another one of my mentors. He told me, man, you got to make sure you pray about what you're doing, read that Bible. So with the process of me doing that, that started to become my morning routine. I
Mm.
think for the last 6 months or so, I've been legit every morning, read my scripture, fast, don't eat before 12. Trying to just make that a routine because
Mm.
I feel like the Bible does tell us, some things come through fasting and praying. So you gotta lay your face out. You gotta lay out what you want. You gotta write out what you want. Write it out, anoint it, pray over it, and then go for it. But
Mm.
the only way you do it, you have to really put that work in. Like
Mm.
the Bible says, faith without works is dead. And you take that word work, and it's not that doesn't mean like a job. That can mean that word work is an adjective that can mean multiple things.
Yes.
If you're
Yes.
in your waiting season to try to get a job, that can mean you man get applications every day. Trying to be healthy, make sure you hit that gym, walk like
Yeah.
that term work is not just a term of go to a 9 to 5. Nah, it's more than just that. It's an
Right.
adjective,
Right.
descriptive word. It has multiple meanings, but it's all about how it's applied within your life at a particular moment in time that which you're going through. So that's my work right now. Currently, my work is getting up, praying,
Mm.
reading that word. Uh, I also anoint myself every day because, I mean, I'll be honest. We human, but
Mm-hmm.
you go to these jobs, people getting your last nerve sometimes. Just keeping it a buck. Like, I had a situation this week, and like when I sit back and reflect on it, I'm like, man, I shouldn't have did what I did. But somebody said something, and I got the big eyes, like, hold up, like who you talking to? But
Mm.
that goes back to say, like, for me, God still it's the reason why I'm in the situation I'm in. God still want me to work on some things.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
still means I gotta grow some places. Because whatever he takes you, it's a reason why he puts us in places and sits us because when he gives you that next blessing, you don't need to mismanage. And sometimes we'll ask for stuff and mismanage the blessing that God give us before we're ready to really sustain it and maintain it.
Right, right. Because with that word work, with working, you have to get better, build that discipline. Right, it's not going
Hmm.
to happen. It's not going to transform overnight. I like to call it my faith walk. When I walk out, when I
Right.
really, really walk out my faith, um, because people hear work and they're like, okay, well, I'm doing this, I'm praying, but how are you walking out your prayers? Like, we got to pray, but we got to do some things to allow God to know that, okay, this is something I'm serious about. Like, I can't pray about
Facts.
having this podcast and then I'm just sitting around waiting for everything to come to me, because that's not how it works. God has to see it. God has to see us working in the this realm so that he can manifest it in the spiritual realm and get everything else going. It's already
Hmm.
working out, but if we're not doing nothing right here, then what's the spirit doing? What can the spirit
Facts.
do?
Facts. And you said some faith, like even like let's go back to that 3 year span, like 3 years ago. But not before I moved, God was giving me these words like faith. When we talk about faith, you have applied faith and active faith. You can only you can have applied faith, but if you ain't really activating your faith, being active in your faith,
Mm,
if you say this is what God gonna give me, if you ain't truly believing this is what God gonna give you, and you just saying God gonna give you this, and you praying for it, like they go back to the word work. Like, what are you doing to set yourself up? We can apply for multiple jobs. We can ask for all these different opportunities. But what are you doing to set yourself up
right.
as a musician? Going back to like not like I said earlier, not being like chosen or whatnot. In a sense, I never really let that bother me. But I used to tell people what I went and did, and this is straight up real. Went and make my own opportunities. Nobody can't take anything from you if you're gonna make your own. That's applied. That's faith. That's applied faith. It
Yes.
ain't gonna start off how you want it. It might
Yes.
start off with one or two people. And the Bible says 2 or 3 gathered. So it might start off with 2 or 3 people, but at the end of the day, as you keep growing, as you keep going, it's going to get to where God needs it to be. I was
Yes.
talking to one of my homies, one of my musicians that's in my band, my homie Darren, and we were talking about being leaders, being the light, like we talked about in the group.
Hmm.
And sometimes we can be that light, and we not know that we're that light. We're so busy worrying about the people on the side of our ship that doesn't care about us or talk down on us. When you got like 5 or 10, 20 people on the other side of you that's ready to follow you into the darkness because they see the light that's in you. And the thing is, we have to realize and understand this is that if those people on that side of you are wanting to follow you, why are we worrying about the ones that's not? God never worried about people that wasn't trying to follow him. It's either you get on or you get off the ship. But when you finally get on, you keep going. Like Saul, whose name was turned to Paul. Saul, whose name was turned to Paul.
Hmm.
He wasn't rocking with God,
He was
but
he
when he
was
finally
very much
turned
so against them. Okay.
back, he was out here killing Christians.
Killing Christians.
Was out here committing genocide. You know what I'm
Nah,
saying? So
for real. On his way to kill the Christians. On his
back,
way, God used them. Talk about it. Talk about it.
like with him, like God had to take his sight. He took his sight. He turned. He did that 360. He repented of his ways, walked in the salvation of light, and by him doing that, he was able to fully understand God. God didn't worry about him not following him, but God knew at some point he was gonna follow. Sometimes you got to show people the light and show people what God has for you, and not worry about why they ain't following you. Just live, just grind, do you,
Hmm.
and everything else will come to pass. And sometimes we can get caught up worrying about who ain't looking at us, who ain't watching us, who ain't trying to be around us, and it's like you'll lose so much sleep worrying about the aspect of why others don't rock with you instead of just worrying about what you got going
Right.
on in front of you to get what you need to do and get done.
Yes, yes. I say this all the time. We can't worry about who's not here. We
Facts.
cannot worry about who's not here. Our job as Christians and followers of Christ and just lovers of God in general is to spread light. We have to spread light, but we also have to be in postures to receive. And we can do all that we have, but God is going to bring us the people that we need to be around every single time.
Facts.
Every single time. The hearts that we need to touch, God is going to send them. And make no mistake, nothing is unintentional. Everything has God intentions behind it. So Saul turned Paul, he was a killer of Christians for a reason. He was a killer of Christians just so God can say, this is how good I am. This is how powerful I am. Because this man was out here. Everybody knew about him. But God said he had something bigger, and he did. He did. And he walked that out. And that's what it is. Like, God is going to literally put us in the places, bring us to the people that we need to be brought to. And it's just going to work out like that all the time. And the group chat that we keep talking about is something very beautiful. Pip started a group chat. Um, and we said AP, but now we saying Pip. Both of them is name. Both of them is name. But he started a group chat called Godly Discussions, and we really meet there in that space and just download to each other all the things that God has placed on our heart. And it's just been such a wonderful space to share God. I think that if if you are lacking that, like what did you say earlier? You said you create the spaces. If the spaces are void, you got to create them.
Yeah, we had technical difficulties. My bad, people. My bad. But yeah, definitely create the spaces. And I know for me, like the main thing behind it was it's one person in the group now, Colin Edwards, good person for me. Person, we played football together in middle school, went to high school for a little while together, and me and him was talking about this like some years ago, just space. And I know for me, the biggest thing with creating the space is I just wanted to be able to be in a space where I could go and call certain people and we could talk about what's going on
Hmm.
with in our lives within Christ. I made a video probably about 2 months ago, and I think the biggest, the good, the best thing I like about now at the age that I am is that I could talk with people that's my age, and we could talk about the goodness and favor of God and what God is doing in our life. Because as kids, we don't really be thinking about that. Yeah, we were probably we were taught to give things and reverence to God, but when you really start to see how the old people just say like, I don't know how this happened, but I know it was God. And you start to experience stuff like that in your own personal journey of life. It becomes more. It becomes more meaningful. It becomes more sustainable. It becomes more substantial. It becomes more tangible. So like
Hmm.
understanding like how God is working in your life, I made that group to be able to like talk to people. And, like everybody in the group, I kind of know whether it's been for like oh, less than a year, 2 years, 4 or 5 years. I kind of know, and I kind of have had conversations with each one of them in terms of like, like what's
Hmm.
going on, how God has blessed you. They've been
Hmm.
able to taught me some of them have taught me, have mentored to me and spoke life into my situation and vice versa. So having that group chat called Godly Discussions is very important because I feel like one thing I say to everybody that we're all going through the same thing just from different angles and different
Hmm.
directions. And
Hmm.
if you can tell me something about a situation you went through and how you got through, you might not even know that I'm going through, but just because you shared that and shared your story, shared your testimony, that helped me get through what I was going through
Right.
and gave me understanding to get to where I'm trying to get through to get to where I'm trying to go.
Right. There's so much power in community. There's so much power in community. I feel like this is a season. God placed something very similar on my heart. I have a group. It's called Women Who Praise, and
Mhm.
we started an iMessage group, and iMessage has a cap. It has a
Yeah.
31 plus one person cap, which is that one person is gonna be yourself. And I started the group end of June, early July, and we hit our cap. We hit our cap about end of October. My mind was blown. My mind was blown because there was so many moments where the enemy told me to stop, but
Hmm.
it has really helped myself to really walk out Christ, walk out my faith. I said I wanted people to see God's light on me. I prayed for that. I prayed for community so bad, so much because I was like, Lord, if I'm going to do this, I need people.
Yeah.
And like we said before, God is going to see those people, but sometimes you got to create the spaces for it. And creating that space is a part of that faith walk. Is a part of that faith walk
Right.
because God is like, how bad do you want it? Right? How will you respond to
Hmm.
the call? And that's in everything, right? So I want to ask you, and I know we've kind of talked about this, but how would you define God's glory over your burgeoning season?
Can't define it. And when I say I can't define it, is more so of a thing of like I tell people the prettiest thing about operating in God and living with God is not knowing. And what I mean by not knowing, we really, as much as we might try to understand God and why He do certain stuff, He don't give you understanding in that moment. You can get understanding. You get understanding 3 years ago. That goes back to like what I said at the beginning. Like you know, this man prophesied to me, and then like all this stuff from my childhood that I really never thought about. Why this, that, and the third. Like clear example. I didn't know I had the gift of discernment until I got to college. Um, it would be certain things that happen that I'd be like, I could tell, like I really could tell somebody how a situation gonna play out before it even before like it even get to point Z. Like if you come and tell me something that I can be like, bro, this is about to like happen. And the reason why I never understood that I had this gift, I remember middle school, not elementary, but middle school. I would go. I would write. I'm very like particular in like the route that I take to get to class. But days that I would change that route be the days when the fights would break out, and I'm like, man, come on, I want to see this. Or even in high school, like same thing. The days I'm late or I'm moving slow be the days fights break out. Or change my route, fights break out. I'm like, man, I want to see the drama,
Not you want to
but
see all the fights. I'm weak.
hey, fight was funny. I used to want to. I didn't seen a couple, but that's another story for another day.
Man, listen, I used to be the ones in them, so hey.
Lord, Leah, I ain't shocked.
First of all of
I ain't
first. Why are you not shocked? I am the sweetest of sweethearts. I used to get picked on.
I don't think you probably was the one starting them though, so ain't nothing wrong with that. If you ain't starting them, I ain't
No, but
mad.
I am going to defend myself. Okay. Okay. And that's why God chose me because he know I'm gonna defend that word. I'm gonna defend that word. I'm gonna stand
But
on business about it.
stand on business, like T.I. son say, stand on business, stand on business.
T.I. son is a mess. I can't even get into that situation.
Yeah, that's another topic, another
Yeah,
day.
yeah, yeah.
But
But
like I was saying too, like that spirit of discernment, I didn't know that I had it until I got to college.
mm,
It was when I got to college, I really started reading like my Bible even more frequently at that
mm,
time, like going into my freshman year and certain stuff would occur, and I'd be like, bro, I already saw this happening before it happened, and that's when I really knew like I had that spirit of discernment. So like I said, the thing of trying to define like that moment and how God is like God will have us go through certain things, and we'll go through it, and He won't give you certain understanding. So I use that story for the discernment. Like I didn't know I had to give the discernment at that young age until I got to like 18, 19. And I'm like, okay, this makes sense.
right.
Or going through certain things, why I was always set apart from people, not knowing that the reason why I was able to be a floater because I need that charisma or that type of charm in the field that I work in now, and
Yeah.
being able to work amongst other people. And I tell people this too. I don't have to agree with everything that everybody says to be respectful.
Mm,
I tell people this, like one of my homegirls was telling me something, and I told her something that she does I don't particularly agree with, but that don't mean that's not gonna how I'm gonna value you totally as a person, because we all have our own free will to move and think, you
yeah.
know. And we all, and like I tell people, you gotta die for yourself. I can't die for you. I can't tell you how to die. I can't tell you how to live, but I can always be respectful in what you do and how you live your life. Just know I'm gonna be me, but I'm gonna be respectful in being me.
Yeah.
So like that's the unique thing, just not knowing how God is gonna give you something, because the way that we want it ain't gonna be the way that it's set, the way that He gives it. And,
Yeah.
we talked about my boys. We talked about Saul. Saul. Another person we talked about, Jonah. He went to big fish, the mouth of the big fish. Jonah wanted to do what he wanted to do, got ate up. Had to sit there and think for a while. You know what I'm saying? So like
Jonah is a whole
he just didn't
mess.
do it.
Jonah is a
That's
whole
my
mess. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's real good. That's real good. I love that that you're saying like the way God will use you to impact the world is in everything. It's in the stitches of us, right? Is in how everything just plays out in our life story. We have not talked about space that you created your group and how
Mhm.
God is using you there. Can we talk about that just briefly?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can do that. We can
Yes.
do that. What you want to know? Talk to me.
I feel that would have been that faith walk, right? That faith walk
Mhm.
to create that space. So tell me how it started and where you see it going.
Kind of going back, I alluded to it earlier, was that it started with me sitting down at my mom and daddy house with my laptop, little two china interface, one keyboard, and a piece of wood sitting on top of a piano stand with my laptop on it. That's what started this birth. But this is not the first group that I've been in. I've been in three different groups.
Mm-hmm.
High school, I had a group called Lemonade. Me and my homeboy, we started it, and we wanted to. The reason why we started a group, we wanted to kind of still wanted to be able to do church, but we wanted to kind of do other stuff as well. Only thing was we were young, so like we didn't have the capacities to do things. And I was going to college. They had one more year left in high school. College started a group, uh, dope musicians, but didn't have people with the mindset of my vision of trying to do music. And also with me going through college, I wasn't trying to be the band leader, but because of that light, I was the one that always ended up kind of leading and getting all the phone calls and having to book stuff and then trying to book stuff. Like had the opportunity to open up for Tyrese. It didn't work out because the people that was in the band, we just wasn't on the same level in terms of like
Uh-huh.
certain stuff. But I mean, take that and learn. That goes back to like not being able to understand God. From your previous question, like being able to go through those different situations, learning how to handle stuff, handle business, handle people. This leads me to my point, my current band now, AP and Soulful Touch. I started that band really when I first got here to Columbia. I was doing my own music, putting out my music. I don't know if you remember when I used to do the Sunday playlist during COVID,
Yeah, yeah.
like stuff like that. Doing all those different things, and like once I was like really okay, I'm ready to start trying to get out there and get my music together. I would I got to start getting booked at certain places here in Columbia, just asking, hey, can I bring my band? And the band itself had to go through some stuff to get to where it's at now, like changing the faces, getting the nice face, getting the certain people that work and that fit. And even with that on top of that, you know, that is still working itself in terms of like pieces being added, completing the whole journey because like the journey is the band is only like 2 years old. But for a 2 year old band, I think we've done some amazing things.
Mhm.
Uh, one thing that we do before every show is anoint each. We anoint each other, our instruments, and we pray. I believe firmly put God first in this thing because if it wasn't for Him, I wouldn't have the gift. I wouldn't have this vision. I wouldn't have this mindset. I wouldn't have the opportunities that I get if it wasn't for Him. So
Mhm.
we gonna get this thing back before we even touch the stage. So even if something go wrong, you will never know. But
Yeah.
God gonna cover it in the
Yeah.
process. So that's how I got to where it's at. Um, right now, like I said, it's still growing, it's still growing, it's still things that have to be critiqued, things that still have to change. What worked last season ain't gonna work in this next season I'm about to walk
Mm.
into.
Mhm.
And that's one thing that I've talked to someone about is that you have to understand that as you evolve in God, as you start to hear things and want more things, want a better understanding and mindset of where you're going within God, you have to understand this that what worked 2 months ago might not work the next 2 months.
Mm.
Yeah, it worked for that season, but as you evolve, the ways your methods have to evolve.
Mhm.
The way you talk to God, the way you pray about, you got to get more specific in the things that you do, things that you say. It's nothing wrong with saying, "Hey, God, this is what I need. This is what I want. How can I get that?
Right.
Where I can go to?" Going back to that godly discussions group chat, like it's stuff that people drop and they like, okay, let me go research that. Let me go do this to make me better. Like one thing I'm starting to do now is look into the lineage, the Bible lineage, how some blessings were connected to others,
Man,
and
it's so good.
why people were actually not blessed because of certain people in their family. So like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the catch of it right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That you dropped some gems. I want to talk about briefly that giving to God before you start. What we did before this episode is pray, and I pray with all my guests before we get started. I pray and do worship before I start is a way to give. I'm learning right now it's so important to tithe and everything. Like you tithe
Fact.
with every single thing. You gotta give something to God in every single way. And even if it's as simple as saying, "Hey God, the first minute of or 3 minutes of this podcast, we about to sit here and pray and just talk about you and talk about how we're gonna connect you in this, then that's my tithe to you." Or excuse me, like we said earlier, starting our day with God. That's us tithing our day. Like you spend what 10 minutes to an hour of your day just quiet with God for Him to let your day be amazing. That is nothing. That is nothing. I think that anointing and starting your show with prayer is very, very strong. And I believe this for y'all that it's going to just continue to make you grow. It's going to continue to just make you grow and make y'all better as musicians in your craft. It has to, because God is not a man that he is going to ever be void of his word, right?
Facts, facts on that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You spoke on that tide, and that's something that I've been dealing with. Um, I tell personally, this is just my personal journey with it. There's been moments where I've tied, and then there's been moments I fall off, and I told my mom, man, I'm just trying to be better with that. Because that,
Mm,
I hate to say it, but people don't really want to give this credit where it's due. But you want to see your finances and certain stuff grow, get that 10% back. And
man.
and I know sometimes some of us will try to. I'm gonna be real. We'll try to manipulate the word and be like, well, if I'm cleaning up this, that, and the third, man, when you get paid, go get that 10% back. I know it might seem like it hurt, but give it back, bro. But
Right.
when you need that blessing to come through and God kick through, it's gonna mean the world to you because you showing reverence to the King. You showing
Mm,
reverence for what you got. You can't. It's like as a kid, your mom and dad give you something and you showed them that you were happy for it, you were respectable about it, they'll give you something else. If you
mm.
come at your mom and your dad and they give you something, why you gave me this? I bet you won't get nothing else again from me. I bet you that. I bet you that. So like, you gotta keep it real.
Yes, yes. It's just so important that that we sow into the good things that God has given us. And I think that if we simplify it just down to that, right, people can understand that. Like, people be stingy with their money, but God told us to have an open heart, and it says in the word that what you give is what you will receive. So I like to look at everything God has given me as a place to as a situation that I could in some way tithe in. And it's not tithe in the formal sense of it, like giving 10% back, but it's like, if I can sow into something that has been good to me in some kind of way, then I know
Mhm.
that God will amplify whatever it is in my life and in their territory as well, right? Like, if I can just give into whatever, then it will be amplified. And I think that it's important that we do that just as lovers of people, lovers of God, of the light, because without it we can't keep this going. It won't go on. It won't keep going. Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. You speaking some knowledge, like you
Yeah.
gotta give, you gotta be a giver. And I say this, and this is real. Like I think one thing that makes it hard for sometimes for us to give as easily as it is to others, sometimes we still dealing with hurt. You dealing with why somebody treats you this way and this, that, and the third. But like it's like the pastor said a couple of Sundays ago, you 35 years old, still mad at your mom and daddy. Like, let that thing go. Let that thing go because for real, like you don't we grew up on that saying YOLO. You only live once. Your mom and dad, people around you, we only live once. So with that saying, if you only live once, that gives room for mistakes and misunderstandings to occur. But when people have mistakes and misunderstandings, that also gives room for forgiveness. You only live once. You only got one chance to forgive somebody, whether they hurt you or not. You can forgive somebody and they not care about your forgiveness, but as long as it's off your heart and you feel like you naturally have done everything that God has told you to do, you're gonna be all right. But you
Mm,
only live once. No parent has. It's only one Leah. It's only one AP. I don't know if you have siblings, but you only have one sibling, and your parents only had one time to raise that child and raise you. Yeah, we were raised probably in the same household or
mm,
in different households, but it was only one opportunity to raise you. So
mm.
with that being said, they're prone to make mistakes because they're
Yeah.
still humans.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, even take it out that realm with just parents, like people, we only have one chance to live. We
Yeah.
mismanage. We might mismanage some stuff, but we only have one chance to get it right. We have chances to make mistakes, but the thing about life, the beautiful thing about life, is not knowing where you're going. God is life, not knowing where you're going. I'm working on an album now. It's gonna be called Life Living in Full Empowerment, and the thing about that is that you just don't know where it's gonna take you. Like
Mm.
I don't even know where this album gonna take me, but I say that to say like you only live once. so that within you only live once. You have one chance to. You have chances to make mistakes, chances to forgive, chances to grow, chances to change your mindset on how you think about things now. Like I tell people now, I might think about something right now, but God might take me through something that changed my whole perspective on how I view people or view a certain situation. But you only live once. So with that being said, you don't have multiple chances to keep doing stuff over and over and over
Hmm.
to keep messing it up, but you have multiple chances to keep just trying to be better.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's so good. That is so good. That is so good. That forgiveness is transformative. It is. It is. And then, like you said, understanding that life happens. This one happens one time. You only here for the days that you here. You cannot keep holding on and carrying all that other stuff. Let it
Back,
go. Let it go. Yes.
that's
Yes.
like
This
the
has
song on
been.
Frozen. Let
Mm,
it go, let it go. Like
no,
that
for
stuff.
real.
I mean, this nigga be speaking some words, man.
Yeah.
You gotta really hear it.
No,
You gotta
Disney do got the hits. I love the movie Soul. The movie
oh,
Soul is like it summed up everything you just said. Soul itself summed up everything you just said, from forgiving your parents to living with yourself, understanding that this life is just this life. Like, man, yes.
that shoot that movie is so like legit, like you said. That whole movie was about a lost soul not understanding where it wanted to go before it
Mm,
entered into the physical realm of this world. Like that's deep. Like to think about
yes.
it. Like this person had this light at that had to kind of travel to figure out what it wanted to be because it was stuck in the same spot for years. God give me this word right now. Like straight up, real talk. We'll be stuck in a certain level or a certain space because we of not knowing ourselves and not knowing the situation because we're trying to search. But sometimes God wants us just to sit still, listen,
Mm,
see some things. Like in the process of me writing this album right now, my homie told me the other day, man, you gotta sometimes just sit back and listen to everything that's around you. Don't touch your piano trying to make something, just sit back and listen. You sometimes gotta sit back and listen to what's going on. That season of isolation, that season of waiting, it's not that it's a bad thing. I know it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to wait and be patient. But that isolation period is necessary. It's necessary to prepare you to the next. I was talking to one of my mentors, and I can't remember if he told me Joseph, and I'm gonna call him and ask him, but he was telling me about someone in the Bible, and he said this person sat at a job for like 20 something years. They hated what they did. They hated, but they sat there and they were patient. When God blessed them, He blessed them tenfold, like gave it to him. Like
mm,
when he blessed him, knocked him out with the blessing type vibe. So
mm-hmm.
yeah, Soul is a great movie to look at and think about.
Soul
I
is,
never
yeah. That's amazing. That's a good word. That's a good word. We was talking about that before we started recording, that we gotta sit. We gotta just sit with things and be quiet. And I was listening to the sermon before we got on, and I was telling you about Daniel and how Daniel would sit with the words that God, and God told him, God trusted him so much, he told him to shut the book, don't release it. He gave him a revelation of the end times, but he told him don't release it. God sometimes
mm-hmm.
wants us to keep it into that right time. And it's okay to hold on. It's okay to hold on to things. And it's not about moving in secret, but it's about moving in spirit. And our spirit has to lead us in our movements, in our growth. And that's what this is all about, right?
Yeah,
Being led by the spirit. You said that you had to be told to take that job, right? To take the job that was like, I don't want to do this, but that propelled you to get somewhere else. It made you have connections for something else. And sitting there, we be so focused on what's fast, what's quick, what's good, what appears to be good in our flesh, that
microwavable success. Microwavable success. Microwavable success. I mean that's
microwavable success, yes, and it's not good because when you put that thing in the oven,
yeah.
man, put that thing in the oven, put it on the
Let it
skillet
cook
real
for a little
quick.
bit.
Always
It's
better. Always
that's
better.
them
Always
old
better.
people, man. Take your
Yeah.
time with it.
Take your
Everything.
time with it.
Everything worth having comes with time. Some of your best relationships with people have been relationships that have come with time. Fast, right there on the spot. Hot relationship. They don't always last. No, it'd
Mhm.
be a little
Mhm.
flame dark and then it's over. But it's stuff that you really want in life. Look, um, took Jesus a while before he died. It took him 33 years. He died at the age of 33.
Mhm.
Take time. Everything takes time.
Mhm.
It was something that you said. Oh, I know what it was. You were talking about faith, and I developed this saying back in college: purpose. You must first know your purpose in order for God to show you your destiny. And I evolved a little bit recently. You must first know your purpose in order for God to show you your destiny, because your destiny will lead you to elevation. Understanding your purpose will take you to where you need to be, and when you get where you need to be, you understand that now you get to elevate. And that goes back to this saying, like, just take your time. Everything that you do, take your time with. It'll make sense. It'll
Mhm.
help you grow.
Mhm. Mhm. That this has been such a beautiful conversation. I knew it was going to be. I knew it was going to be. We started off with a lot of technical difficulties at the beginning, and I was like,
Right.
the enemy trying to block something. We didn't even let it, put us out. We ain't sweat it at all. My final question, and I think we've touched on this, but I want to just ask you to clear it up, is what have you learned from this growth, from these moments of growth, and what are you still learning?
Be patient. Trust Him. Understand that God walks with me, and I know He walks with me. But that doesn't make me exempt. I think a lot of times we'll think because we rocking with God and we know God and God know us, that exempts us from going through things. No, understand that you still go through things, but understand you have to change your mindset, your outlook, and your mentality on why you're going through. We go through things to help us grow. We go through things to help us learn, and if we can see the lesson before we get through it, then we're great. You'll be great in the process.
Hmm.
Everything, everything is meant to happen, good and bad. The good is meant to show you that okay, you're doing some things right. The bad is meant to tell you, oh, go back to the drawing board, retry this, reestablish this right here, change up how you doing this. Uh, and it's not, that's nothing to be ashamed about. Understanding that a no doesn't mean that God is not going to give you a yes. Understanding that the no just means like it's not your time. You know, the Bible says first should be last, last should be first.
Hmm.
And with that being said, you got somebody that been in that line, that prayer line, probably umpteen years, and it's their time, they season right now to grow. Don't be jealous of nobody else's season. Support them as they support you in your season. Even when they don't support you, still be a supporter.
Hmm.
Let people say what they say. You know, that's just what it is. Trust God. That's just my main thing, just to keep trusting. Understand the waiting season. Don't be ashamed to be in the waiting season. Just do what you got to do. Because the waiting season, another way to look at your waiting season, and also call it preparation season. You
Hmm.
preparing yourself for what's coming.
Can you please blow off your mic? Because I feel like fire is coming from it. That was good. That was so good.
Appreciate.
Understand that waiting season. And I want to just add to that, the waiting season does not mean you sit around, because we've been talking about what faith walk. You got to walk that thing out. You got to work in that waiting season. And the work is about being that posture to receive, right? That posture to be able to, okay, once I get here, once I get here to this finish line, I'm ready. Or this starting line, I'm ready to take off. You gotta prepare yourself in that waiting season.
Yeah.
Um, Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your wisdom that you've shared. How can the listeners connect to you and just receive more of you?
You can follow me at Alexis Pipkins Jr. on Instagram. That's ALEXISPIPKINSJR. And you can follow my band at underscore Soulful Touch, SO under at yeah underscore Soulful Touch SOULFULTOUCHE. We're also on Facebook, AP and Soulful Touch, and that's AP and the and sign, Soulful Touch, SOULFULTOUCHE, with the apostrophe after. It's not touche, but it's touch. But yeah, you can follow us there. And it's some stuff that I'm working on that's gonna come to pass.
Yeah.
Don't rush your journey. Just let your journey be what it be, and watch how you get there.
Hey, this has been so beautiful. Thank you so much, Pip. Have a fantastic rest of your day. And for our listeners, I hope that you have been filled in the way that I've been filled from this. Remember to be gracious to yourself in this burgeoning journey, and that it's step by step. You can't get to the finish line without running the race.
Facts. Big
All right, we out. Hey y'all, it's your host Leah J. I hope that you were blessed by this beautiful conversation between AP and I. Here is an exclusive sneak peek of one of AP's unreleased projects. It's called You've Always Been There. Please enjoy and let us know how you feel about it.